Good morning and welcome to Ireland AM on Virgin Media 1. It is Tuesday the 15th of November and this wonderful man here is normally sitting down telling us what's going on in the top stories that are making the news, but this morning he has very kindly stepped in for Tommy.
If you had told 15-year-old me that I'd be coming off the subs bench for Tommy Bowe, I'd be in my element. Absolutely delighted.
Is that pretty good? Is that pretty good? So Sean Defoe, Tommy Bowe.
Yeah, oh yeah, it kind of works even with the alliteration.
I think it works absolutely fine.
Already, and it's only Tuesday morning.
We'll see you, Tommy. Mind yourself.
Coming up, when he's not reporting for Virgin Media News, he's battling it out on one of the biggest quiz shows on TV. We chat to our own Rob O'Hanrahan about scooping the countdown teapot.
Plus, we'll be treating your skin with some tender, loving care. This winter, our skin nerd, Jennifer Rock, will have all of the best tips after 9. That's coming up in just a while. And of course, throughout this morning's show, we will be paying tribute to the cervical cancer campaigner, Vicky Phelan. I think most people wish we weren't doing this, that Vicky was still with her family and friends, but Vicky fought for transparency and justice, and it's important that we all continue to do so. It's such a personal loss for her children, her husband, her parents, for all of those who are close to her, and our thoughts are with her family today. It's also a time of national loss, and we hope to pay tribute to Vicky in some small way today and to carry on her legacy, because she had things that she was fighting for that she didn't get to complete. Now it's over to the Virgin Media News Hub. For more, here is Hannah Murphy this morning.
Thank you and good morning. Well, the G20 summit gets underway in Bali today, dominated by tensions between the West and Russia following its invasion of Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will address the world's richest leaders by video link. He's called for Russia to be expelled from the group.
The leaders of the world's richest economies begin their summit in Bali today. It comes amidst huge tensions because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The Russian President Vladimir Putin is skipping the meeting, sending Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov instead. Some leaders are calling for Russia's expulsion from the group. The impact of the war is set to dominate the agenda: reduced energy supplies, rising inflation and global food distribution problems. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is expected to address the summit by video link. US President Joe Biden held his first face-to-face talks with China's President Xi Jinping yesterday. Their relationship is tense in recent months. At the 3-hour talks, Joe Biden said they had a responsibility not to let their superpower competition turn into conflict. Marie Mulcahy, Virgin Media News.
Tributes have been pouring in for Vicky Phelan following news of her death yesterday. In a statement last night, Vicky's family called her the heart and soul of their family unit, saying her passing will leave a void in all of their lives that seems impossible to fill. The 48-year-old is being remembered as a fearless campaigner who worked tirelessly to highlight the cervical cancer scandal.
We talked incessantly for the last 3 years. She was the most loyal, courageous, inspirational person I think I've ever met, and truly humbled and privileged to have been able to spend the time with her that I've had to get to know her, to get to know her family, and to be part of her life, because she has been a huge part of mine.
The Environmental Protection Agency says there were almost 81,000 complaints made last year, most of which were about waste or litter. The EPA says there's good evidence of effective enforcement and collaboration by local authorities, but it found problems with construction and demolition waste, saying a comprehensive cradle-to-grave inspection system is needed. It's also called for increased inspections to reduce the impact of agricultural activities on water quality. Humanitarian aid convoys have begun arriving in the Ukrainian city of Kherson. It's the first time since the invasion that aid agencies have been able to enter. They're bringing medicine and food to those who need them. Officials in the city are also trying to restore water and electricity supplies following the Russian retreat last Friday. Ukraine's president has hailed it as the beginning of the end of the war.
We're ready for peace, but our peace for our country is all our country, all our territory. We respect the law and respect sovereignty of all the countries, but now we are speaking about our countries. That's why we are fighting against Russian aggression.
In the US, vigils have been held at the University of Virginia campus in memory of 3 members of the school's football team who were shot by a fellow student. The shooting set off a 12-hour lockdown at the school until the 22-year-old suspect was arrested yesterday. The gunman fatally shot Devin Chandler, Lavelle Davis Jr. and Seán Perry on Sunday evening when they were returning from a day trip. 2 others were injured in the attack.
The suspected shooter is UVA student Christopher Darnell Jones, Jr. Upon arrival at the scene, university police encountered several victims of gunshot wounds. The shootings occurred on a bus full of students returning from a field trip. 3 of the victims did not survive. They were Devin Chandler, a second year from Virginia Beach, Virginia, Lavelle Davis, a third-year student from Ridgeville, South Carolina, and Seán Perry, a fourth-year student from Miami, Florida.
The world's 8th billionth resident is expected to be born today. The United Nations is predicting that next year, India will replace China as the world's most populous nation. There are concerns that population growth will add to the challenges already facing developing countries, where there's difficulty in accessing resources like food, fuel and water. Between now and 2050, the UN predicts 8 countries will account for half the world's population, including Ethiopia, Tanzania and Nigeria. And comedian and TV host Jay Leno says he's doing okay after suffering burns in a flash fire. The 72-year-old was working on a vehicle in his famed car collection when it reportedly burst into flames. He was taken to hospital and cancelled a Las Vegas appearance, citing a medical emergency, telling Variety magazine he'll need a week or 2 to get back on his feet.
For car insurance, van insurance or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
Thank you, Will, and a very good morning to you at home, or if you're indeed streaming online on the player. We're coming to you live here from Killikeen Forest Park. We're under the cover of darkness here in County Cavan this morning, so another little while until it brightens up. Anyway, let's take an opening look at weather together now with Mark Armstrong on cameras. And following that overnight rain, a bit of a damp start out there this morning, but mainly dry now as we wake up to your Tuesday morning. A couple of showers hitting parts of Galway City through Connemara and down around the Dingle, Evra and Beara Peninsula, down around the southwest of Cork and into West Kerry as well. But elsewhere, it is holding mainly settled now in those moderate southerly winds. Now, right across today, in fact, we're going to see a system pull in across parts of the west and into the south, bringing with it rain. And in fact, that rain slightly heavy at times. It's going to tip into southern Leinster as well. Those winds freshening as well, continuing from the south. Drier elsewhere the further north we go. And in fact, that's where the best of the brightness will hold out there this Tuesday. Top values very similar to yesterday, at about 9 to 12, 13 at tops. And finally then tonight, any showers, any rain will die out, so it will be a largely clear night. Kind of couple of hit and miss scattered ones, but elsewhere it will be quite a cold night in store. We're going to see a frost develop, values back to about freezing to 4 with some mist developing and fog to take us through into tomorrow morning. So that's how it's shaping up for now here in County Cavan. Quite dark, quite cold at the moment, so wrap up if you're out and about, and we'll catch you back live at 7:35.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
The Quote Devil's always got one hell of a quote. Coming up on Ireland AM, we will be speaking of Vicky Phelan, who challenged medical institutions and the state to expose the cervical smear test scandal.
We're back after this short break. Welcome back. The passing of Vicky Phelan has hit the nation deeply. The campaigner who exposed a cervical cancer screening scandal after receiving a false negative result herself became the national voice for the more than 200 women affected.
And joining us to discuss Vicky's legacy is Orla O'Connor from the National Women's Council. Orla, it's lovely to have you here. And, you know, as you were walking in, you were just saying, oh God, I looked at the front pages and it kind of, like you worked with Vicky, you knew her. How are you? Of course, we're thinking of her family, but it's kind of hit everyone.
I think it's hit the whole country, absolutely. I mean, her loss is, it's so incredibly sad. And so really just want to, again, express my sympathies to her family, her children, her mum and dad, and to all of those who campaigned with her in 221+. I mean, it's very hard to imagine how they must be feeling. And I think, you know, we always knew this day was going to come, but we just never hoped through hope that it wouldn't. And I think, yeah, I mean, we heard so much yesterday, I think, of how people described about how much, I suppose, Vicky had touched their lives in so many different ways. Because just her courage and her bravery is really undescribable when we think of what she did.
Yeah.
You know, and from the day she went public in 2018 and stood outside the court, and she didn't have to do that. She had so much to contend with in terms of, you know, what she was going through, but yet she went public and she did it for all of us, but particularly for women in Ireland.
And I think that's something that really struck me always about her, was that she got involved in things that she didn't have to get involved in. Like, when we're sick, we kind of want a comfort blanket thrown over us and always stay to ourselves. But, like, she sought you out in the Women's Council.
She did. And I mean, only months after she had, you know, after she had gone public outside the court, she contacted us because she wanted to be public about the repeal referendum and to give her voice to that and to give her support. And we were so grateful for her to do that. And I think, you know, that's one of the things I've really thought about in terms of just how precious her time was. But she so generously gave her time to so many campaigns in relation to women. And continually did that all the way through. And, you know, we were remembering yesterday in the Women's Council when we were working with young women and we asked them, this was in 2018, you know, who's your role model? And it was Vicky Phelan. It was Vicky they wanted to hear from. And then she came and she spoke with them at an event we had. And she was absolutely extraordinary. And that, you know, she so connected with the young women. They were inspired by her and by her courage.
And she gave so much of her time.
Absolutely.
And of course we're thinking of her family and they've got to go through all this and then we're all speaking about her as well. But the thing is that if you rang Vicky and said, hey, do you want to talk? She was like, yes. She wanted to continually talk about what happened because she didn't have justice and she didn't see it as justice. And she took on this amazing role as a campaigner, as you said, when she was sick. And it was in 2019, I think she was sitting here with Karen and Ciara on Ireland AM and they'd asked her the question, you know, if she'd made the right decision in pursuing justice. And I think that we can actually see what Vicky had to say in 2019 right here on Ireland AM.
I wouldn't say I'm 100% confident in it yet, but we're getting there. I am glad, absolutely. I think it was the right decision to make. I often wonder if I wasn't as sick as what I was, would I have made that decision? I think sometimes, you know, if you're at the end of the rope, which I was, and I didn't think I was going to make it, I just thought, you know, you're backed into a corner, you know, you're very dangerous because you don't care. I was at the point where, you know, I don't care what happens here, you know, this can't happen to other women. And all I knew at that time was there were 10 other women, you know, and I wanted to make sure that they found out. But once, I suppose, the thing started taking kind of, you know, shape and I knew there was far more women, and then, you know, Stephen contacted me and Gabriel Scally was brought on board. I could see that things were changing and I thought, well, I have to keep at this, you know, and I will keep at this. I will keep at this until we get to a point where we have a screening programme we can trust.
And that was Ciara speaking here on Ireland AM in 2018. And unfortunately, that screening programme, you know, it's not got to where she wants it to be. She wants it to be at home in Ireland. She wants there to be mandatory disclosure. And we're still fighting for those things for Vicky. And that fight that she had in her, I'm sure that was something with the Women's Council that you wanted to support her in every single way going forward because she gave so much of herself.
Absolutely. And I think that's what was so powerful yesterday by the statement by the 221 Cervical Check Group, because they said, you know, Vicky's legacy is about actions. It's not about words. It's not about all the accolades. It's about what can be done. And that's, I think, you know, was so true to her because she was always about the action, asking the questions, encouraging us all to keep asking the questions and not to take no for an answer. And she did that, and she did that at the same time of going through, you know, the whole illness, which must have been so difficult. Yeah, I mean, I think it's very hard, I think, to imagine really the experience that she's had over the past years, and yet she just kept fighting. Yeah. We
all saw the public face, obviously, of Vicky Phelan, but you're hearing all the stories in the last 24 hours of all the little things she did privately that she told no one about and no one told anyone about. Like, privately, she was as much a force as what you saw on telly.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I mean, from her involvement in terms of her openness, I think, about her experience in terms of mental health. Like, she, you know, really supported campaigns in relation to that, in relation to her, you know, coming to, you know, facing death and her experience of that, and lending her support to campaigns there. I mean, she was just so central, I think, to so many different areas in women's health. And you know, there is no doubt about it, but Ireland right now is a better place because of what Vicky did, and you know, and all of the other women and those in 221 Plus, and you know, everything they have given, while at the same time, you know, experiencing what they're experiencing. We owe them such a debt of gratitude, and when Vicky.
But so many of these people shouldn't be gone. You know,
Absolutely.
That's the issue. Like when it's, and Vicky said that she did this for her daughter Amelia. That was that she wanted this this justice. When we're living in a world where information is being kept from patients, the fact is that Vicky looked at her chart and she was like, there's something wrong here. Like, if she hadn't done that, God only knows what would have happened, and people wouldn't have known. So when it comes to that, people do have to. She was all about people going, do you know what? Don't just sit back and take it. Question. Question. And she wanted the medical profession to be more open, to have mandatory disclosure, which is something that we don't have.
Absolutely. And I mean, that was right at the heart of the Gabriel Scally's report. And I mean, Vicky was obviously central to that, as were all of the 221 group. And it was about transparency within our health system and really transforming our health system in terms of women's health. And yes, we still have to fight for those things. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a risk, I suppose, of that fight somewhat coming off the boil? Because obviously politicians react to what's going on right now, and there'll be a big reaction over the next few days, as there was in 2018. But unfortunately, as you said, a lot of these women are gone and the news cycle moves on. How important is it to keep that pressure on to make sure mandatory open disclosure, all the other things get done?
Yeah, it's critical. And I mean, it's really, and I think there is mixed emotions, because I know from talking to people yesterday, there's a level of anger about this. One, you know, why did women have to die in order for these changes to happen? And that so often happens in relation to women's rights. But it's up to us all to keep the fight going, to have that better health system that we all want, that we all need. And we need it as well for now, but we also need it for the future.
Because it was, at the start, it was just her against an entire system.
Absolutely,
the entire health system that was trying to get her to shut up and to sign non-disclosure agreements, and we'll give you more money if you've got... Because this is all about her children's future as well. And getting out there, getting Pembro, like she went and she fought for Pembro. But the fact is that Vicky Phelan was also incredibly funny.
Yeah.
Like, she was great crack to be around as a human being.
Yeah.
She really enjoyed life.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And was always so sort of humorous, and particularly remember, you know, that event with the young women, she was absolutely having the crack with them. And that made her even more amazing to them and inspiring, absolutely. And, you know, at one point, because she was there talking about leadership, and she was saying, well, you know, I'm just an ordinary woman. You can be like me. And we were looking at her going, you are not ordinary. You're absolutely extraordinary.
That's one thing I think is her legacy, is that, but she did go out there and she kept on going. And that's something that we obviously need people to continue doing.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think a key part of her legacy is to inspire us all to keep campaigning, to keep fighting. Yeah.
Orla O'Connor, it's been a pleasure. I know that for people who knew her, it's an awful day, and of course her thoughts are with her family, but it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Orla. Cheers. You can send in your comments throughout the morning. It's WhatsApp 0896 111 111, because I do think this has hit a nerve in a way that I don't know if I've ever seen this before.
No, it was even when the push notification came through yesterday, it was that drop in the stomach, wasn't it, that just everyone felt across the country. Still to come, we are going to be continuing to remember Vicky Phelan, and we'll see you after this short break.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. All of them are dominated by the passing of Cervical campaigner Vicky Phelan, as you would expect. We're going to start with the Irish Times. The paper pays tribute, saying Vicky refused to sell her soul for a settlement. Vicky would not accept the institutional silence and could not remain silent. Her courage captivated us.
Vicky, a fearless warrior for Irish women. It was a moment as she and the nation had known was coming for years, but the death of Vicky Phelan still reverberated across the country yesterday, is the top story in the Daily Mail.
The Herald also goes with a quote from Vicky's family saying, "She was our heart and soul."
I don't want apologies or tributes, I want change. The powerful, heartbroken husband statement, and the children of Vicky Phelan also paying an emotional tribute to the Cervical campaigner who was the heart and soul of their family. That's the front page of the Irish Independent.
The Mirror goes with, "She fought for us all." Cervical cancer campaigner Vicky Phelan was hailed for her heroism yesterday after she passed away.
The Examiner leads with "Thank you, Vicky." Vicky Phelan made the personal political the day she stood outside the High Court in April 25th, 2018 to make a statement to the knot of journalists.
And The Sun leads with the same "Thank you, Vicky."
The Star also leading with "Thank you, Vicky," and all the newspapers leading with that tragic passing of Vicky Phelan. News Talk's own Andrea Gilligan, host of Lunchtime Live, who's interviewed the campaigner in the past, is here to talk us through the papers. And Andrea, I suppose, look, it was one of those moments you felt in the gut yesterday when it was announced. You've interviewed Vicky a number of times, I think on your first show, in fact. I mean, how did you find her?
She was just like... And I know it's been said on so many occasions, and you do hear this an awful lot. I think often when people pass away, but with Vicky Phelan, it was so fitting, the tributes that you see today. She was just a terribly, fiercely courageous person. And I always felt that was kind of the warmth that you got from her. Like, she was just there to fight. She was there to fight for her own daughter, for people, for you and I, for all other women who go through the National Cervical Screening Programme. And it wasn't necessarily, she didn't want blame, she didn't want answers, but she didn't want to it wasn't about blaming people. It was just about accountability, but making change, you know, and watching change happen and seeing change happen. And not all of that has yet happened, but I think, like, when you read the papers today, and I know you went through the headlines there in the Examiner, and, you know, thank you, and she fought for us, but they are so truly fitting to Vicky Phelan, and it's just a terrible, terrible tragedy.
The thing is, I was speaking to some friends yesterday, and all the details in her book, Overcoming, which came out a few years ago, and when you read it, you get quite angry, actually, about what happened, because it was basically Vicky being a bit nosy that has brought all of this to the fore. So can we kind of go through, like, what happened with Vicky Phelan? Because she was a huge advocate for the cervical screening programme, even though it has indeed failed her. But she certainly changed my whole attitude. I am vigilant about it now, and that's because of Vicky Phelan.
Yeah, absolutely. So Vicky Phelan went for her smear test back in 2011, like through the National Cervical Screening Programme, like you and I and many other women watching the programme today do. She went for that smear test. The sample was taken. It was sent off to the lab. I mean, I would never know what lab or where my smear test result ever went to. Vicky's was sent off to the lab, and the results came back. No abnormalities, all clear. You know, go on about your day. We'll see you in 3 years' time. That's usually kind of the protocol, that you wouldn't go back for another smear for 3 years at that particular age bracket. 3 years later, Vicky Phelan goes back for her next smear test in 2014. Again, that sample is sent off for review. It's sent off to the same lab, which is Clinical Pathology Laboratories in Austin, Texas. And a month later, Vicky Phelan gets the news to be told, you've cervical cancer. Now, what's protocol throughout the cervical screening audit is that once somebody is diagnosed, or their sample comes up as abnormal, or once they've been diagnosed with cervical cancer, there is in turn, there's always protocol that there's an internal audit as a result of that. That internal audit was carried out, and it was found that the 2011, the initial smear test that Vicky Phelan went for, that result was actually incorrect. But what was most remarkable about this was that she wasn't told about the inaccuracy until 2017, at which point that cervical cancer had progressed to being exceptionally serious. It was a terminal diagnosis at that stage. And the reason that we know about all this is that Vicky Phelan took a case, she sued for damages against CPL Laboratory, and that settlement was made in the High Court here in Dublin of €2.5 million. But the reason that we know about this, the only reason that we're talking about Vicky Phelan here today, is because Vicky Phelan would not sign. When the piece of paper was put out in front of her and told, will you sign the non-disclosure, the confidentiality agreement, or the confidentiality agreement, she wouldn't do it.
And we'll give you more money. You'll get a higher settlement.
Absolutely. Which, let's be honest, at a time of exceptional difficulty for Vicky, for her family, and obviously her main concern, her two children, Amelia and Dara, and her husband, and wanting to provide for them in the future, I'm sure, like, for any of us, I mean, I've been thinking about it myself in the last day or so, that had to have been a very difficult decision to make, but it wasn't for Vicky Phelan, because from the very, very outset, and her solicitor, Ciarán O'Carroll, made that point yesterday, the one thing Vicky Phelan always said was that I will not sign a confidentiality agreement. So in April 2018, on the steps of the High Court here in Dublin, she told the world, she told the Irish people her story. She told us all what happened. As a result of that, many other women heard that story. They subsequently came forward.
She thought it was about 10 people at the time.
Yeah. We had the establishment of the 221 Plus group.
Yep.
Many other of those women have now, many other women have now gone on to settle cases as well. Many other women have since passed away as a result of this. We've had the Scally report, the publication of that too, back in 2019. That recommended sweeping changes right across the whole cervical check screening
because
programme.
of the negligence within the programme. Again, saying that the programme, we are very lucky to have it in this country since its establishment, and I believe that. And again, Vicky Phelan, Bruce Marcy, Lindsay Bennett, they all, like, it's so horrible to say these names and they're all gone.
Yeah.
They all spoke about how important it is, but they just wanted transparency to be like, if something's wrong, tell us.
And one of the things as well, I suppose, that Vicky very much wanted was, and we know this because throughout, you know, in the subsequent time and years after that High Court appearance, she continued to fight. And I think that's what has made Vicky Phelan such a national treasure for people, is that cancer is something, and Muireann, you and I know this, you know, very well, it's something that affects every home in the country. So Vicky Phelan is this heroine who has fought through a time of terminal illness. When she was asked to sign this confidentiality agreement, she lifted the lid on one of the biggest medical controversies to ever hit this country. She is the result of major changes to a national cervical screening programme that will now benefit all of the women of Ireland. And she did that at a time when she was extremely sick. And she continued to fight and to fight and to fight. And I think that is what makes the whole nation mourn for Vicky Phelan yesterday.
And it's one of those ones that, I don't want to say bittersweet, but she achieved so much in Ireland, achieved so much for women, and yet in her lifetime did not see mandatory open disclosure passed. Had still huge problems with where these tests are being sent. Obviously not being sent abroad, not being processed in Ireland. So she achieved so much, but I think if she were able to talk to us this morning, would be saying the fight is not over, this needs to go further.
Absolutely, and that's something that she continuously talked about throughout all campaigning. I mean, she lent her support and her help to so many other, you know, women's groups as well, organisations. I know you were talking to Orla O'Connor earlier as well today. But look, I mean, we all knew that this day was going to come. Vicky very much knew it. She was very pragmatic actually about that, and that was one of the things I remember very vividly in interviewing her quite recently. I remember one of the first conversations I had when I started the show with her 2 years ago was her now fighting for the Dying with Dignity bill. And that was something that she too was very, very vocal about. And again, it all comes back to this, the concept of just women, men, people, us, the patients, taking back control of the situation. And that's still, you know, that's still an ongoing discussion. It's been shelved somewhat at the moment, but it's still an ongoing discussion and something that she really campaigned for.
Completely, and there's that issue with medical negligence and suing and no one wanting to admit liability. But for an awful lot of women, I do think that she's done so much with, there's a better screening programme now.
And Gabriel Scally, you know, said that yesterday. It's the one, if we're to take, I don't want to say any comfort from this or positivity from it, but Gabriel Scally did mention that yesterday, that I suppose the one thing that has really come from this is that the country now has, and people should have confidence in what is a good cervical screening programme. But it has taken, this is the upshot of it.
But we need to look at sending lab results to for-profit labs. That's what she really disliked a lot. We'd love to hear from you this morning. If there's anything you'd like to say about Vicky Phelan, I know that she met so many people in this country and gave so much time. We'd love to hear from you. It's 089 611 111. We're going to move on to just some other little pieces of news. And this is gambling legislation. Up to 8 years imprisonment for not protecting children from gambling, which is very hard when it comes to online.
Well, the gambling bill, like, it's currently in place since 1953, and like we've had major changes in the gambling sector, you know, over the past. Well,
I think called the internet has somewhat changed.
Absolutely, in the past 2 decades, you know, really in particular. But look, this is, I suppose, the most far-reaching, comprehensive proposed changes that we've heard of or seen in a long time. Just to give you a flavour of what they're talking about, a gammon ban, excuse me.
Gammon ban.
Yeah, a great fluster. A ban on gambling advertising from 5:30 in the morning until 9 p.m, which is the entire, if you want to say, broadcast
what about
period.
football and everything? Like, they're all on jerseys and...
Yes.
Are you going to blur them out?
Like, do you blur them out? Yeah.
Well, these are the proposed changes, might I add. But anyway, 5:30 to 9 p.m. is the proposed ban on the gambling advertising. Some prohibitions around children being allowed into premises where gambling activities take place. I mean, it's hard to know how far that extends. I mean...
Like, if there's a pokie machine in the corner of a pub, are the kids not allowed into the pub?
So that's where we need the clarity in that. Some protections as well for protections to ensure that children are not able to carry out or conduct online gambling. I mean, I don't know how you manage to do that. But the ads as well, this is quite interesting, the advertisements that we do see cannot be attractive to children. So...
And that's what they're all there for, to be like big and colourful.
That's the world of marketing.
They'll always find a way.
Is to ensure that they are attractive. So look, these are the huge changes that have been proposed, and there is obviously the 8-year imprisonment is one element of the punitive aspect of this, if gambling companies breach it. But look, more remains to be seen.
And one last interesting bit out of it: a national gambling exclusion registers. This is one. If you have a problem with gambling, you can sign up. You can register yourself.
Yeah.
And none of the companies will be allowed to do business with you. Again, how do you...
But that's kind of there now, and it's very easy to get around it.
Well, very easy, but it's somewhat the right direction. If you're going to face a criminal prosecution for it.
There's something there, listen, 0896 111 111. And very quickly, we just want to mention something because it is a very, it's a very tough day and for an awful lot of people. But there's one really weird survey that's out. It's coming from Britain. But... we spend almost 2.5 years of our lives in the kitchen.
You don't, Martin.
I absolutely do not.
I'm like, I don't mind calling you out.
No, when I'm putting on the kettle, I put on the kettle about 25 times a day. I am climate change.
Then you're double more than the national average then, because the kettle gets boiled 12 times a day according to...
12 times a week according to this survey.
A week according to this survey.
12 times a day in my house.
This is the part that I couldn't understand. We spend 43 minutes spent stirring food. Imagine just for 43
minutes
I have a feeling you don't do that either, Andrea.
No.
I'm all about the one pot through everything on the boat.
The other one was they get an average of 300 steps in while making dinner. I get way more than that.
Do you?
Oh, we stick on the music and going around the kitchen, open every single thing. I do, love it.
I know, picturing you. Yeah, you're doing a bit of jiving as you're like
dancing,
making the lasagna.
It's doubles then as your workout and you don't feel so bad about eating the food.
Does it?
Yeah.
Is that really what happens?
I think the one thing, though, that will probably resonate with an awful lot of Irish people was that, according to this research, 51% of respondents consider the kitchen to be the heart of their home. And, like, I don't know about your house, but I know our house at home, certainly in my home house in Donegal, like, the kitchen didn't matter how many other rooms were in the house, everyone just sat in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like, the kitchen was where visitors sat, you had tea. Every meal, every conversation, everything happened.
Every stool pulled out from under the stairs to accommodate somebody.
Was conducted in the kitchen.
Maybe I have this job for a reason, because ours was the TV room.
Really?
That's it. But that's it. Kettle gets boiled 12 times a week, which I just think is way
low.
Wait, 12 times a day?
No, easily.
Easily, 12 times a day. Okay, so 2.5 years of your lives are spent in the kitchen. 0896 111 111. Andrea Gilligan, thank you so much for coming in. And I know that it's hard to kind of look at the timeline of events that happened with Vicky, because people get angry, but we really do appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you so much. You can keep sending in your comments throughout the morning. The number is 089. It's WhatsApp 0896 111 111.
Plenty more on R&AM after the break. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Now, lots of people have been getting in contact, and it will be of no surprise that this is all in relation to Vicky Phelan this morning and how people are feeling about her untimely and tragic passing. She's only 48 years old. Anne says Vicky Phelan will be remembered as a legend. Rest in peace to such a beautiful lady.
Gail is messaging as well. Vicky Phelan was a hero and a champion of women, not just in relation to the cervical testing, but in opposition to the continued misogyny from the government and its agencies. She was a really interesting relationship with the government, where she kind of very much tried to work with them, but at the same time there was just no nonsense. She never took a backward step. Any minister I ever spoke to said you went in that, with whatever best of intentions, and they might have tried to get around it, but she just took nothing.
Yeah, and she wasn't afraid of uncomfortable silences with them, I don't think, and kind of staring them down and being like, no, I want answers.
Yeah.
And She just didn't fair play to her. Like, it's unbelievable.
Incredibly strong woman.
If we had more of that. Dan has gotten in contact and he said, because of Vicky Phelan, I learnt more about HPV and HPV vaccines. I'm delighted that my daughter has that. I rest easier at night. Thank you so much, Vicky Phelan, and to the other women like Laura Brennan and Lindsay Bennett who have gone before her.
Grania also texting in, RIP Vicky, the women of Ireland for generations to come will never forget what you did for us. You fought a heroic battle so that we could get the healthcare we need and deserve.
Lucia has said, I'm so saddened by the death of Vicky Phelan at only 48 years old. And that's what's important to remember. Like, so when this happened to her, she was in her 30s. It's just such a young age. And leaving 2 young children behind, I'm thankful not to be one of those women who has been affected by cervical screening, but I am deeply affected by her death. She knew she was dying, and whilst trying to spend time with her family, she also fought for other women who were affected by cervical screening. A brave and courageous hero, RIP. And she also got involved with, Repeal the 8th. She got involved with so many other campaigns, like Dignity.
But so many things that weren't even related. I remember tweeting once about the National Children's Hospital, and I got a phone call about 20 minutes later, and it was Vicky Phelan.
Vicky.
And she was saying, this is outrageous, we need to have answers, we need to have accountability. She just wanted change, and wanted change for the better.
The energy, it's unbelievable. We'd love to hear from you. It's 0896 111 111. We've got lots more to come on Ireland AM. We'll be back very shortly. Time now to take a look at this morning's papers, and as you'd expect, all of them are dominated by the passing of cervical check campaigner Vicky Phelan. We'll start with the Irish Times. The paper pays tribute, saying Vicky refused to sell her soul for a settlement. Vicky would not accept the institutional silence and could not remain silent. Her courage captivated us.
Vicky, a fearless warrior for Irish women. It was a moment she and the nation had known was coming for years. But the death of Vicky Phelan still reverberated across the country. Yesterday is the top story of the Daily Mail.
The Herald also goes with a quote from Vicky's family saying, she was our heart and soul.
I don't want apologies or tributes, I want change. The heartbroken husband and children of Vicky Phelan have paid an emotional tribute to cervical check campaigner who was the heart and soul of their family. That's the quite impressive front page today of the Irish Independent.
The Mirror's front page, she fought for us all. Cervical cancer campaigner Vicky Phelan was hailed for her heroism yesterday after she tragically passed away.
The Examiner leads with, thank you, Vicky. Vicky Phelan made the personal political the day that she stood outside the High Court on April 25th, 2018 to make a statement to a knot of journalists.
The Sun leads with the same, thank you, Vicky.
And the Star also leading with, thank you, Vicky.
And there are so many messages that are coming in for Vicky Phelan today, and we would like to take the time to read them out for you, because it's so nice of you to get in contact, and we know that it is incredibly hard for people today. It's hit everyone. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this before. Maria says, I had the honour of meeting Vicky a few times pre-diagnosis. I remember her smile and caring nature. My sincere condolences to her family, friends and community. She was truly an inspirational woman.
Judy also texting in to say, in your personal adversity, you gave it your all, and in doing so helped countless people. Rest in peace, Vicky Phelan. You were a force to be reckoned with.
And that's one thing that she wanted people to continue. She keeps on saying that she doesn't want the aide-de-camps at her funeral, that she wants them to do something. And she was fighting the whole way through. Linda, I had the pleasure of meeting Vicky. She was a beautiful person. She was so full of possibilities and kindness. She loved life to the fullest. Rest in peace, Vicky.
I think that's something the last 24 hours you've just really heard all the personal stories, the people who met her, the stuff she said in back rooms, the private force of nature that she was. Vanessa also messaging in saying she's deeply saddened by the death of Vicky Phelan, a life that never should have ended so young. I think that's like such an important point, is that we should not know Vicky Phelan's name.
Nope.
We should not know any of the women who were involved in the 221's
Laura
name.
Brennan.
Any of them. They should all be here. They should all be living in happiness with their families, and we should never have heard of them. But unfortunately we did. And at least Vicky campaigned, I suppose, to make sure that hopefully no women have to go through something like that again.
Yeah, and that it's in vain. But Vanessa went on to say, I myself have had abnormal smears since I was 25 and have been on yearly checkups. Now, all of a sudden at 41, I'm getting clear smears and have been told not to come back for 3 years. Although I'm delighted that they are finally clear, there is part of me questioning, are my results correct? And of course, I completely understand why that would be in your head when you've been going through something for 16 years. Like when you're there, like I've had my abnormal smear, I've had HPV, and you know, it clears itself. And we do have better smear tests now, which is something that Vicky did. Like the fact that it can diagnose HPV in women, it is fantastic. But I can understand why you're worried, Vanessa. But I hope that I hope that you're doing okay and that your head's okay. And it's great to hear that you've got clear smears. Still to come, we are going to discuss a groundbreaking programme inspired by Vicky Phelan to help women cope with symptoms caused by their cancer treatment. We'll talk to you very shortly.
Vicky Phelan raised so much awareness for women's health that in response, the Irish Cancer Society launched the Women's Health Initiative, which offers supports to women undergoing cancer treatment.
Now, before we talk to the Irish Cancer Society's Chief Executive, Averil Power, thank you so much for being here, Averil. We're going to take a look at Vicky Phelan's, a part of Vicky Phelan's speech outside the High Court in 2018, and a bit of this is upsetting.
I am terminally ill and there is no cure for my cancer. My settlement will mostly be spent on buying me time and on paying for clinical trials to keep me alive and to allow me to spend more time with my children. If I die, and I truly hope that won't be the case, the money will provide for my family.
Averil, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a very hard day. You know, in your job, you're surrounded by cancer all the time, but Vicky brought something to the fore, a national scandal to the fore. Just personally, you know, you knew her. How are you doing? She was a phenomenal person.
She was an incredible person. Despite being so sick in the last few years, she did so much to help other people. Vicky was always thinking of everybody else. She could have settled when, you know, she was terminally ill when she brought that case through the High Court, and she was offered terms of a settlement that meant that she was being put under pressure to sign a gagging order and not tell anybody else. She could have thought of herself and just thought of how sick she was and, you know, saving her energy, but she wanted to make sure that other women knew what had happened. So there was no way she was going to be silenced, because she wasn't going to let the women of Ireland be silenced. And after that, she just fought so hard, fought for the truth for every woman affected by the failings in cervical check. She fought for time with her family, particularly with Amelia and Dara and Jim, to have as much time as possible with her family, and underwent a lot of gruelling treatments and trials to try to extend that time and have as many memories as possible. And she also fought to change the system, to improve our screening services so that they'd save more lives and that other families would never know the horror of what she and her family have been through.
Absolutely.
How stands the state of the screening services at the minute? Because obviously she was constantly pushing for change and things are better, I would think, but probably not to where Vicky would ultimately like to see them going. So where do things stand now?
I mean, despite Vicky's own experience, she was so passionate about screening and how important it is to get screened. And the fact that, you know, cervical check saves lives. Sadly, it didn't in her case. But when it works properly, it can pick up precancerous changes before they go on to become cancer at all. And with cervical cancer, if it's picked up at stage 1, there's a 90% survival rate. But sadly, for Vicky, and for others who have it diagnosed late, that drops to 15% at stage 4. And she felt so strongly about making sure that every woman was aware of that they'd take up that invite, and also that we'd make the screening services as best as we can. Since then, thankfully, we've moved to HPV testing, which is much more sensitive. So that's been a really, really positive move. And then also, thanks to the campaigning that Vicky has done next month, and sadly, Vicky won't be here to see it, but next month there's a new lab due to open in Ireland, national testing lab for cervical smears, so the results aren't anymore, like in her case, sent over to the States. So there are just so many improvements.
And will that lab take all of the, because we've got, you know, it's 227,000 people a year are eligible to go for screening. We've got an 80% take-up rate in Ireland, which is fantastic. It would be great to get it higher. Will they all be going to this not-for-profit lab?
So I think over time, that's the plan. It will take time to scale all of that up. But I think that was one of the things that Vicky felt really strongly for, that the smears would be processed in Ireland and subject to our quality assurance and quality control. The other thing I think that she did that was amazing as well was raising awareness of the HPV vaccine. Herself and sadly Laura Brennan, who also passed away, did so much to make parents aware of how important that is to get your teenage boys and girls vaccinated against HPV. And as a result, we have the opportunity now to eliminate cervical cancer. You know, if we can get everybody vaccinated when they're younger, they'll never get cervical cancer because they won't get the HPV virus that causes it. So I just think there are so many different positive aspects of Vicky's legacy that we should be incredibly grateful for.
Because they do expect in Australia, because their HPV vaccine programme is so efficient and the take-up is so high that it's going to be eliminated in Australia by 2025.
Yeah.
Like, this is something that we could achieve here in the next few years if we can get people to get these vaccines.
Yeah, Australia started before us, and now they're vaccinating teenagers the same as ourselves at 12, 13. And as a result, now the first young people that went through that programme, when they're being checked for the HPV virus and the precancerous changes that HPV causes in their 20s and 30s, they're just not seeing HPV, you're not seeing that, and that's just incredible. It's amazing that we have a vaccine that can prevent women ever having to go through what Vicky went through, and boys having to go through other HPV-related cancers. And that's why we just urge, listen to Vicky. Any parent that's watching this show, please listen to Vicky, listen to Laura, other women who sadly went through huge trauma with this disease, lost their lives to it, and made such passionate pleas for parents to listen to them and get their children vaccinated. And I think that will be hopefully a huge part of her legacy, that parents will do that.
How much did she change the way cancer, in particular cervical cancer, is treated in Ireland? Because obviously Pembro is not something we'd all heard of. It wasn't in the common lexicon before Vicky Phelan. A very expensive, $8.5 for 3 weeks of treatment. It's now available on like a case-by-case basis from the HSE. Is that actually being given to women, though? Because case-by-case can be very subjective.
Yeah, well, I think the important thing, like what Vicky fought for, was to have it available to anyone whose doctor feels that it's necessary. Not everybody will have a positive response to it, but, thankfully for those who do, it can be incredible. And it was one of the things that prolonged Vicky's life. We thought, she thought she'd only have 6 to 12 months. In the end of, she's 5 years after her case, which is just phenomenal, thanks to things like Pembro and other trials that she was put on. And again, I think it's testament to her that she wasn't satisfied just for, she could pay for that from the proceeds of her court case.
Yeah.
But she was determined that no other woman would go without it because they couldn't afford it. So she made sure that everybody got that access. And I think she also really raised the awareness of the importance of cancer trials and investment in cancer research. She just kept going, from Pembro to then the treatments that she was on in the States. And I think we were all holding our breath and all hoping, that there'd be that breakthrough and that her cancer would be gone or at least managed. Yeah. And sadly, that wasn't the case. But I think, the fact that each of those drugs was able to extend her life is amazing, and it shows the importance of investing in research, that we have drugs like Pembro, that you have other trials. And I think that's a huge priority for us as the Irish Cancer Society. We're the largest voluntary funder of cancer research, and we feel a huge weight from all the work that Vicky did to put more money in, to raise more money from cancer research, and also to lobby government to make sure that when drugs are proven and we know that there'd be a benefit, that patients get access to them in Ireland as early as possible and don't have to travel to the States. People shouldn't have to travel to get those treatments.
And we know that with Vicky, you launched the Women's Health Initiative with the Irish Cancer Society, whereby there's a space to go and talk about what's going on with you, because it is a shock to the system. And we're very lucky to have screening programmes. I know we want to extend them to, male cancers as much as we possibly can, because they really do work. What do you want to see? You've worked within government before. What do you want to see happening? Because, of course, Vicky, she wanted mandatory disclosure, when things went wrong within the HSE, and a less adversarial system. And you deal with cancer patients who are coming up against an adversarial system all the time. What do you want to see happen?
Yeah, and I think Vicky campaigned so strongly for that open disclosure, for patients to have a right to their information, to have a right to know when things go wrong. And I think she really shone a light on the secrecy that's been there at times, and the kind of paternalistic attitude at times that the health service can take to patients, and not just trusting us with their own information, being upfront when things go wrong, explaining what's happened, making us partners in our own healthcare. And I think that, that hopefully if government really wants to, Vicky's own words, and I saw the 2-to-1 plus support group share them yesterday very poignantly in their message on Vicky's death, was that, she didn't want tributes, she didn't want you know, plaudits, apologies. She wanted action, and she wanted to see that, you know, that other patients would have that, would know when things went wrong, and that there'd be redress.
Yeah.
On the Women's Health Initiative, I think what was amazing was, you know, I think generally people are aware that cancer treatment can cause fatigue, nausea, hair loss. But before Vicky, nobody talked about the fact that it also causes infertility, including in very young women in their 20s, early menopause again in very young women. And that the treatment for cervical cancer in particular causes so much vaginal damage that women aren't able to have vaginal intercourse as a result. And what that does to your self-esteem, to your quality of life, to your relationships. And nobody ever talked about that. And Vicky just cut through all that. She was so frank and so open and so honest. And that inspired us to set up a programme, the Women's Health Initiative, to set up special clinics for women going through treatment, to make them aware that they may have those side effects, to help them to manage them, and make sure that nobody feels alone, that they feel that they have to cope with that on their own and that they're not getting support. So
absolutely,
it's just one other, you know, so many things that she did to help other people, and that will leave an incredible legacy. And I think we're all just so grateful to Vicky, so sad for her family today.
But having a lab in Ireland that's going to do this part of the screening programme, that is absolutely huge, and it's something that she very much campaigned for as Chief Executive of the Irish Cancer Society. Averil Power, thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome back. It's cooking time in the kitchen, and Sarah Butler is here to show us how to make a Fakeaway curry. Sarah, what are we doing?
We are making a really quick and easy Fakeaway curry, and I'm just using all the veg that I had in my fridge and some chicken breasts.
You've got a great fridge full of veg.
I've got lots of smoke here, ready to go, and I am popping my chicken breasts on the pan with a little olive oil. Now, I've cut them through the middle, so they're nice and thin. They're going to cook really fast.
Okay, so they're like butterflied.
Exactly. Lots of peppers. You can add whatever you want. I have some tomatoes, lots of garlic, always a key ingredient, and some courgettes. So we just want to get them all mixed up in your pan. You can also do this in an oven dish. Put it all in an oven dish and into the oven.
Okay, you lash them all in at the same time?
Yeah.
Bit of oil, what you put in them?
A little bit of butter and olive oil.
Lovely.
You don't have to add the butter, I always do. Now here we have some garam masala, curry powder. You can choose hot, medium, mild.
Whatever is in for you.
Cumin and turmeric. And I'm also, because I like it a little bit hot, some chili seeds.
Listen, Alan isn't here. You can do whatever the hell you want. It's fine.
Again, you just kind of adjust it as to what way you like it, you know? You can add in more of one thing than another. And you want to give that 4 to 5 minutes on each side with that chicken so that it's going to brown off.
Okay.
And all them spices are going to mix up amongst everything else. Now, let's pretend we're 5 minutes in and all that veg is nicely soft.
The chicken's lovely and cooked.
We're going to add some chicken stock. And that's going to kind of steam it all. Gradually add that always. And again, that's going to soften all that veg and go into the chicken for lovely flavour. Reduce the heat down. Now, we want to make this nice and creamy.
Yeah.
So I've got some full cream here. You can also use coconut milk or coconut cream.
Yeah.
Depending on what way you want it. But I am adding in a little bit of cream. And you just leave that to simmer there away until it all softens. Now, you can have it with the veg whole. There's also some coriander here. We'll just pop that in on top. Lots of colour. So you can leave that whole with the veg whole and the chicken whole, but I have taken the veg out. This is going to get your takeaway effect sauce.
Oh, this is your secret. This is like the secret.
So I've added a little bit of cream and a little stock and a little coriander. And we're just going to blitz this. So you're hiding all that veg, so it's a great one for the kids.
Oh, that's clever.
And we're blitzing this really well. And I have my chicken just shredded. So obviously take your chicken out first and just shred that. And you're just going to blitz this. If you have a NutriBullet,
anything that you need to do.
I think most people have a NutriBullet at home. So you just pop in.
10-euro blender I got in college.
Again, gradually add the stock. Don't add it all in at once and get your nice consistency.
Okay.
And that is your lovely takeaway sauce. So we're going to get this on the heat.
Do you leave it a bit thick or do you go full smooth?
I'm going to pop it in the pan and see how it is once I've added the chicken. So that's quite thick. So we can add more cream. I like it creamy.
Yeah.
So we're going to add a little bit of cream. Actually, I have coconut milk here, so we're going to add that in.
Okay,
so that gives you a lovely coconut flavour.
Love a bit of coconut milk.
Yeah. And again, like, you don't have to stick to the recipe. If you don't like courgettes, don't add courgettes. You know, if you want to add something different in that you have in the fridge, throw that in and just experiment with the flavours.
On the timing front, basically, you do all your prep and everything like that, but you're going to go for 5 minutes each side for the chicken with everything in there at the same time.
Exactly.
Are you adding your chicken stock after the 10 minutes or are you doing it halfway through?
After about 8 minutes. Once the chicken is sealed.
Sealed.
Yeah.
Then you kind of put it in.
Otherwise, it's just going to smoke.
So this is fairly quick dish.
A great one as well. You can just put everything into either a Ziploc bag or a bowl in the morning and just put it in the fridge and then throw it on when you get home.
Yeah, you're good to go.
Yeah,
what about a slow cooker? Can you do it that way?
Slow cooker, absolutely.
Nice, handy. Saves the electricity too.
Yeah, very handy.
Keeping, you know, that Christmas cooking in mind.
Guess
Keep the bills down. Got to keep the bills down. Many
reports on air fryers and slow cookers. Cost per unit.
And that's it. Coriander, always the best one for your curries. If you have any left over, you can make a lovely stir fry with.
Smells beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great one, and you can see the difference. So you can have it with the sauce blitzed or with the vegetable whole.
I do think the blitz in the sauce.
Yeah,
it just
I like
feels
it as
pure
well.
proper.
It's takeaway, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that cheap meal that just.
It is that cheap meal.
It just makes you feel that little bit more
and if you have a
done.
Yes.
Oh, a little bit of bread. Go on, Seán, try that.
Okay, go on.
Try that, there you.
So it's so easy if you have everything
sauce.
prepped.
Delicious.
Delicious. It's a good one.
Go for it.
Are you happy out?
That is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
That's so easy as well.
So easy. Get them spices and have them in your cupboard.
That is so good.
I've never wanted curry for breakfast before, like without being hungover. So this is a.
That's good.
This
I'll
is a
take
good
that as
journal for the books.
I'll take that as a
Such a great journalist. Sarah Butler, thank you so much.
Thank you
and your
so
book is
much.
available now online. It's going great.
It sure is going great at sarahbutler@home.com.
You can find it all there. Thank you so much for this.
Thank
It's
you.
absolutely delicious. Now, after the break, Virgin Media News reporter. We're all about the reporters today.
Yeah,
Robert
can't go
Hanner,
with
and he's going to talk about winning the coveted Countdown teapot. Very fancy. But before all that, fancy bagging yourself a brand new car. Well, do you know what? You're in luck this week, aren't you, Seán?
We are, because we've teamed up with Toyota Ireland to give you the chance to win the Toyota iGo Cross. Take a look at this.
We've teamed up with Toyota Ireland to give you the chance to turn heads like a celebrity in the Toyota iGo Cross, the compact crossover built for everyday life. For your chance to win, just call or text the numbers on screen and answer the question.
Now you'll recognise our next guest from the Virgin Media Newsroom, or more recently, his stint on the popular Channel 4 TV show Countdown.
Lads, I was like a proud mother. It was pathetic. Here is Rob O'Hanlon. It's lovely to have you here, but you know what we're going to do first? We're going to see you on legendary
on to telly.
Countdown. Let's check out Rob.
Your time starts now. How did you do, Rob?
6.
Heather?
No, I've only got 5.
5. Let's hear your 5.
Fixer.
Fixer. And Rob?
Elixir.
Beautiful. Yeah, very nice indeed. Elixir, magical potion.
Have you enjoyed that?
Well, I wouldn't say enjoyed. No, it was a bit of a stretch, and Heather pushed me all the way. No, I'm delighted. I really, it's an honour to even be here.
Elixir, what a word!
You couldn't have picked one where I got a 9 though or something. I had to go for the 6.
In the studio here, when you said, everyone went, when you got the
Harry
accent.
Potter fan in the country got that one.
It was just there that was going,
Yeah.
Rob O'Hanlon, it's lovely to have you here sitting on the couch.
It's very strange. Normally I'm sitting there like looking.
You're
very
there,
formal.
we're shouting at you at 7 o'clock in the morning going, are you there? How are you? Let's go back. When did you apply to go on Countdown?
So I applied back at the beginning of the summer. So this was actually back in like May, I think I applied.
Yeah.
And like all good decisions that came after a couple of glasses of wine, which I will also say improves your playing ability of Countdown like 100%. And I just decided, I was like, I threw an entry on the form and I got an email 2 days later, and I kind of like put it to the back of my mind, didn't think I'd hear it and back. So I put in an application and then I had to do an audition over the phone. You'd play Countdown over the phone.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Do you?
Yeah. So 2 rounds of letters, 2 rounds of numbers, and 2 conundrums.
Is it on Zoom?
No, it's
Just
over
on the phone.
So I was kind of like, you could definitely, you could
You
cheat.
could
Yeah,
cheat.
100%.
But do they still have the countdown on the phone? Like, is the phone ticking in your ear?
No. So you're like, it's just like this really, really nice researcher from the UK, and he was like, all right, mate, we're going to let's play Countdown. And he was like, 30, I got 35 seconds instead of 30. And it was just weird silence. And then English-themed breathing. Down the phone. It's like, and I was there trying to like sit in my sitting room. My girlfriend at the time was working in the other room, and I was like, quiet. I was like, she was on Zoom trying to do her job, and I was like, don't count down. Come on.
I also love that would be, I would watch that movie, that Scream movie, Let's Play Countdown.
Yes.
You know, if you just randomly prank called people and said, Let's Play Countdown. So you clearly did very well on that because you got through to the live shows.
Yes. So, and then I kind of thought there would be something else after that, but then no, all of a sudden it was, okay, let's go to Manchester and let's film this show. And I was like for real? I was like, no, there's a fake one first, right? There's a trial. No, straight on, onto the set with the clock in the background and everything. It's surreal. Like, even watching that footage, like, it's mad.
It's so strange. And, like, I get the most pressure. As soon as it gets to 15 seconds and the music starts to change, I'm gone. The head is gone. How did you find it? What was it like in the studio?
It's actually really funny. So we actually had the board game like years ago. I remember playing it at Christmas one year, and my sister-in-law, who is a paediatric nurse, was like, turn off the clock. She's like, I can't play with that noise, with that pressure. And I was like, so it's funny. And I kind of thought as well that they wouldn't play the music in the studio, but they do. It's actually louder.
Oh.
And, yeah, it's even louder, and it's right there. And then you have the lights on you, you have all that kind of stuff. So it was fine-ish. It was like, I've never been more tired than after filming the first episode. Like, I was absolutely bushed.
How long does that filming take? Like, is it what we see on the television?
Close enough. Like,
okay,
they recorded, like, as live, effectively. Like, there'd be a couple of small things that they fix and change. But even small things, like, say, for example, the board has to flip from the letters to the numbers. So every time it goes to, like, it's really... And they didn't warn me, so the first thing they were like, OK, Rob, you're going to pick your numbers. And I went to start picking, and all of a sudden there was, like, 6 guys had come on and started to turn the board, and I was like, is this part of the show?
They turn the board, how the sausage meat is made. You've got it all there. Was it the sort of thing, because I think I grew up, loads of people, we all grew up watching Countdown. It was like the show that your parents could put you in front and not feel guilty about it. It's like they're learning. They're learning. So was it a thing that you watched as a family? Yeah. Like, the board game.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I'm completely outing myself and my family.
That's totally fine.
No, it was actually more my grandparents that used to mind us for when we were kids. So my nan and my granddad would have put it on religiously every day. Like, it was Countdown and then 15 to 1. Or 15 to 1.
Absolutely.
Really old school 15 to 1.
Love it.
With kind of nuclear reactor kind of set.
Yes.
So we would watch it every day. Like,
so Richard Whiteley, Carol Vorderman, back in the day.
Yeah. And then as well, I had a primary school teacher who played the maths round with us every day in school in 4th class. And and it's very funny, I used to be friends with a couple of the lads in that class. And one of them said to me when he was watching the show, he was like, I can still do this. I can still do the numbers because of that. Like,
but you were a lot better at the maths round.
Well, no, I was so much
really
better.
good.
So much better. I can't do anagrams. No, lads, I'm not.
It's hard.
No,
not a great game to go on with.
I know, right? Yeah. I hate them. And my mum loves to tell the story of, like, when I was in primary school and I would come home and there would be anagram homework and I'd be like throwing it on the ground, throwing the pen at it. And I'd be like, what's the point? Why not put it in the normal? Like, what am I gaining here? So she found it hilarious when I said I was going to go on the Countdown.
Bravo Hanner, next interviewing the Taoiseach, Micheál Martin, he's like, I know that you threw your homework on the ground.
You have an anagram for it.
I've never been so excited. I don't we've had Olympic medals. We've had like Liam McCarthy. I don't think I've ever been so excited as a Countdown teapot. You did, because they filmed like 4 shows.
Yes.
You did your couple of shows and you were knocked out.
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
But it was amazing to watch you. The result around Ireland was huge. Like, everyone is a secret Countdown watcher, I think, first of all.
Yes.
What have you done to the newsroom? Gavin Riley, Zara, Richard, Gavin. I'm actually going to go with Gavin. Is he now going, I got to get on Countdown?
Well, I personally still believe that Gavin Riley wrote the algorithm for the Countdown. I'm 100% convinced. I can't even begin to imagine. This is the first time this has left the house. So it has been sitting pretty much on the mantelpiece, tilted so everyone can see it when they walk in the front door. Yeah.
The only question I have on it, does it make a good cup of tea?
I don't drink tea, Seán.
What did you put? Because I know you've had a drink out of it.
I have, yes.
What you put in there, Rob?
We're pre-watershed, so
That's fine.
My waddy?
Yes, it was. I filled it full of gin and tonic. I was watching the episode.
Gin and tonic. That's the way you do it. You were on Countdown. That's what you need. It has been it was such a joy to watch you. You did so well. You have to go on countdown. All the reporters in Ireland now have to. All the
We're going to
journalists.
have to start one. We're just going to have to start one between all the political lobby of Leinster House, basically. Yeah. So
we'll have you and Gavin do it here in studio.
Oh, please don't do that.
No, okay.
We'll start it myself on telly. I don't need to do that.
Rob O'Hanrahan, it's been lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for coming in and chatting on the couch.
Delighted.
So good. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for joining us, Rob. Still to come, some fashion looks on the catwalk.
Plus, the best advice to treat your skin with Jennifer Rock. We'll be back with you after the break. Thank you for staying with us this morning. And so many people have been sending in messages in relation to Vicky Phelan, as you'd expect, because she had, as we've said, a profound effect on so many people. Philip says, my deepest condolences to Vicky's family. Has anyone in the HSE or the screening service ever been brought to account? Did anyone get suspended or fired? This woman has lost her life. Her children have lost their mother. Her husband has lost his wife. Yet as far as I can see, it's carry on as normal, with not so much as one person being reprimanded. Shame on all those who tried to cover this up and tried to buy her silence. We should never be allowed to forget this wonderful woman. R.I.P. Vicky Phelan.
Roisin's also texted in saying, Vicky Phelan is a true hero, such a brave and courageous lady who looked in the eye of all those government bodies who wronged her. I myself have cancer and I'm going through an ordeal at the minute. Vicky showed us what it is to be brave and to stand up for yourself, which thankfully I'm doing. R.I.P. Vicky. And Roisin, best of luck to you with your fight against cancer, as we all remember Vicky Phelan this morning.
Absolutely. We hope that you're doing okay. And I suppose that is one thing that medical negligence and people accepting accountability for what happened and whose fault it was, and the NDA that they tried to get her to sign, and blackmail a woman with terminal cancer who shouldn't have had it in the first place with more money in order to stay quiet. It's abhorrent what happened. Lorraine says the new cervical check lab that's due to be open. We're talking to Averil Power, the CEO of the Irish Cancer Society, in just a little while, and she's hoping once it's staffed, it should be open. This lab for screening cervical cancer tests to be opened in December, hopefully at the Coombe Hospital. It should be named after Vicky Phelan. Rest in peace to an incredible woman. And Averil did say that Vicky, while she didn't get to go and see it, she knew that it had been built and that it was finished, and that she was very happy about that.
Yeah, and will be a testament to her legacy. And I think that's a great idea, naming it
100%.
after Vicky Phelan. After the break, we're going to continue to remember Vicky.
Zara King will be here discussing her legacy and the lasting impact she has made on the landscape of women's health in Ireland. We'll talk to you very shortly.
Welcome back. Now, throughout the show, we have been remembering the cervical cancer campaigner Vicky Phelan, who has been hailed as a woman of extraordinary courage and a national treasure.
And we're joined right now by someone who was in contact with Vicky all the time. It's Zara King, of course, in the Virgin Media Newsroom. Zara, thank you so much for joining us. I think, first of all, like, you're out there, you're chatting to people all the time. This is, I don't know if I've seen anything like this before.
Well, I think we always kind of knew, didn't we, that when this day would come that people would be, you know, really upset and shocked. But I think more than anything, it's just been the fact that Vicky always rallied. Like, you know, you'd always say when you saw Vicky, I wonder, will this be the last time I see her? And then you'd meet her again 6 months later and she was constantly fighting. So I just think when the news came out yesterday, it was like, oh my God, you know, for so long, Vicky was invincible in so many ways. Like when I first met her in April of 2018, she had 6 months left to live and she was determined to fight through that. And then, you know, she went on to live for so much longer. So people have been really devastated. You can even see, you know, on social media, all the comments coming in. And I think particularly for women, just what she did for us as Irish women has been so remarkable. But what's more remarkable is that actually it would never have happened had she not been just a little bit curious on that one given day where she sat in the hospital. She was like waiting at an appointment. Her mum was with her and she had her medical file on her lap and she was like, oh, you know, I'd have a look at this. And like, you know, out of total curiosity, opened up the file and all of a sudden, this whole thing unfolded.
And in one of your first interviews with Vicky in 2018, because she was so open about telling her story, she does talk about basically Vicky's nosiness that exposed a national scandal. Let's take a look.
And Vicky, at what stage did you come to realise that you had cancer back in 2011 and no one had told you about it?
Myself and my mother were in this treatment room waiting for me to go down for my biopsy. You know, you're going from admissions up to this room and I had my medical file. She was up on the shelf and I just said to Mama, sure, here I may as well start looking through this, as you do. Well, I do anyway. And I started looking through the medical file and I was reading all the letters and then I suddenly saw this letter from the cervical screening programme. It was so clinical and there was even a little paragraph at the end of it about out, you know, it said, you know, your 2011 smear result, original result, no abnormality detected. And then on review, you know, query squamous cell carcinoma, that's the cancer I have, the type of, and I said, Jesus, you know, that means I had cancer. And at the end of it then it said, you know, basically, you know, the legal speak really about the clinician, you know, about how to tell the patient and whether or not to tell the patient. And that's when I thought, oh, here now, there's something fishy going on here, and I just didn't like the sound of it. And the fact that I had never been shown this letter at all.
And I suppose it comes back to something we've been talking about all morning. How many of the rest of us would have done it? Do you know what I mean? There was such a reference for doctors in this country for so long. Would anyone else have looked at the file? And then after that, and after she found everything out, it wasn't just herself that she campaigned for. It was every woman in Ireland, but it was on all sorts of issues as well.
It was interesting, Seán, because, like, you know, talking to Cian O'Carroll yesterday, her solicitor, and he was saying that, like, from the moment that she first met with him, she came with her own case, but she instinctively felt, this can't just be me, that this is happening. I don't know what it was or why she felt that way, but her gut feeling was like, this is not just me, there's other people involved in this. And, you know, as you say, like, that curiosity, I suppose all of us, and I think Vicky, in fairness to her, was always very, you know, respectful of the medical profession. She, you know, she really trusted science and everything, and I think she was passionate. She also really believed, by the way, in cervical screening and was really passionate about that. But however, I think she was really clear in saying that don't always trust the first answer you get. Be willing to ask further questions, be willing to probe. And, you know, we ask questions for a living. How many times have you gone to the doctor and not done a follow-up question? Because I know I definitely have. Like, sometimes you don't really want to know the answer, or sometimes you're a little bit like, yeah, cool, I'll accept that, and you walk out the door. And, like, so many of us do that. And I think what Vicky Phelan has taught us, and that will be part of her legacy, and people watching this morning, you know, if you have another question, if you've been to an appointment and you have another question, make the call today, do the follow-up, ask the follow-up question. Because Vicky Phelan asking the follow-up question is what gave so many other women their answers. So Cian O'Carroll talked about that, and he said that, you know, when they first went to the High Court, shortly after that case, it became clear there was around 14 other women. And then as time went on, it grew and grew and grew, and that's when the 221 group was formed, and it became 221 plus because the numbers continued to grow. And you know, it was only because she had been so curious that day. I suppose the other thing that people might not have known about Vicky is she did a lot of public campaigning. But actually, Vicky Phelan was, like, so good to people privately, like people she didn't even know. And she was, you know, on the phone, like, for hours on end, taking care of people that might have just recently gotten a diagnosis, or might have recently discovered that there was an issue with their file. And she was there to comfort them and tell them this is how you should deal with it, and this is what, you know, and advise them. And there was also women who weren't even within the 221 group who were dealing with cervical cancer, who were trying to get onto the Pembro trial. This was the drug that gave Vicky so much extra time. And she was fighting for them to get access to that. And she was instrumental in a lot of women getting access to that. And she was, you know, somebody who, if she felt that women, you know, needed to go public, and it's terrible and it's disgraceful that women sometimes do have to go public sometimes, and they have to speak to journalists like me and to newspaper journalists and journalists like yourself, you know, that they have to go public to get access to the drugs. But Vicky fought with those people to help them do that.
And the one thing to remember in all of this is that Vicky had terminal cancer, so where she got the energy, God only knows where she got it. But you were speaking to Cian O'Carroll, her solicitor, who was with her every step of the way, about what she did privately for people. Let's take a look.
Going back to April and May and June of 2018, directly after her case, at a time when she was extremely sick, as I've said, she was spending hours on the phone every day talking to, you know, huge numbers of people. Her number was being passed around, obviously. People would then contact me sometimes and say, is there any chance I could have a word with her about some issue? She'd say, no problem, send on the number to me. The selflessness, the amount of time that she gave to other people in those private situations, but also in a much more strategic way, the way she focused on these campaigns.
Vicky's solicitor, Cian O'Carroll there. And Zara, obviously this all got kicked into the political domain when it was brought to light in 2018. We had the Scally report. How far down the line are we in that being implemented and the change that Vicky saw it being permanent?
Well, it's interesting, Seán, in a sense that I was talking to Gabriel Scally yesterday, and actually he's due to publish his report into how his recommendations in his last report are being implemented. So we don't actually have that report yet. He tells me it'll come in about 2 weeks' time, actually, which the timing of all of this is just so interesting. And also he was telling me actually that Thursday is, I think it's World Eradication of Cervical Cancer Day as well. So he was saying that actually in terms of Ireland, that Vicky was instrumental in terms of Ireland's efforts around all of that. you know, there's a lot of things that are still outstanding that need to be done in terms of particularly mandatory open disclosure, and that's something that Vicky fought for such a long time. It's not there. It's not where it needs to be at the moment. But Gabrielle Scally said that when he first met, I asked everyone I spoke to yesterday, I wanted to know what they thought when they first met her, because like in the beginning, like, you know, just to kind of, you know, be so impressed by somebody who had come with such a kind of a well-built case. And he said, like, when he first met Vicky, that she had had treatment that day, and then she sat down with him and gave him so much of her time to talk about what she had been through, and then also again assisting him in terms of getting in contact with other women so that he could form that report and pull all of that together. But sorry, yeah.
But let's look at what Gabrielle Scally said to you yesterday about her contribution and what she's done for women in Ireland.
Vicky wanted women's health to be moved up the agenda, to be taken seriously, and for women to be taken seriously and given the information and the power they need to look after their own health care, and also to find out when things go wrong, and to have an apology and have all the information they need and the truth and be dealt with properly. And I think she's done an enormous amount in that whole agenda.
I suppose just listening to that, there's going to be words, continuing words. People are going to be talking about Vicky for a very long time, and that is her lasting legacy, Zara, because as much as we're here, she wanted to keep on talking about this. She wanted to keep on fighting for something. So there is a purpose to all of this.
There is. There's more work to be done, and you know, her close personal friends and campaigning friends, you know, the likes of Lorraine Walsh and Stephen Teeple continue to fight that for her. And speaking to Stephen this morning, obviously he's devastated, but he's determined to continue to push on for Vicky. I suppose, like, a final point is that when it came to Vicky, like, the one thing with Vicky was that she was constantly living for milestones, particularly in her children's life. And I know that that's something that, you know, she would just want us all to reflect on, is the fact that she loved her children so much, and they were the reason. And actually, you know, we say, you know, the drugs and the treatment kept her going, but I actually think it was the love of those two beautiful kids was really the thing that gave her that strength over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and as much as we're all really sad across the country today, obviously nothing compared on the grief of the family. Zara King, Virgin Media News correspondent, thanks a million for joining us this morning. Lots more on the way between now and 10 o'clock. Ireland AM is back after this short break.
Now it's time to have sequins. I think it's that time of year, really, Lorna Duffy, isn't it?
Yes, officially we can start talking about silly season. Sequins, all the sparkles, the glitz and the glam. It's finally upon us.
Fabulous.
Very
We're going to have
exciting.
some celebrity inspiration. Our first look today is Gigi Hadid.
Gigi Hadid, yes. So here, firstly, we're going for that all-black look. And secondly, we're going for the sequin pants, the flares. Just really adds to the glitz and glam, doesn't it?
Okay, well, they're a look this year, certainly, aren't they, with the flares?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So we'll start off again. We've got our earrings. So all of our jewellery here is from Absolute Jewellery. Bit of sparkle, gorgeous little drop earring, perfect for that party season. Really, really nice. And then we've teamed it up with a lovely little necklace, again, just to add to the glitz and glam of the overall look.
Lovely,
really,
but
really
let's
nice.
get to the main event. This is the top and
the
the
main
trousers.
event, the showstopper. So we have this stunning blazer. Again, has a little bit of sequin, a little bit of sparkle, which is what we want. A little bit oversized. Obviously, we're going for that glitz and glam for a night out, but it's always nice to throw on a little layer. So a blazer is going to do that perfectly. This whole look here is from the Style Market. Really good price point. And yeah, it's just lovely. Available in a few different sizes as well.
Yeah.
So next up, now, what I love about this is, so we will get Kerry to take off our blazer and wait for it. So it looks like a jumpsuit, but it's a cami top and the flare pants. You know, if you're out and about and you're having a few drinks, it's annoying to have a jumpsuit on sometimes. So it's almost like a 2-in-1 here. So you can kind of go with the cami top, the flare pants, or you can kind of almost make it look like a jumpsuit. So that's what I really like about it. Beautiful. And then we've gone for a little bit of sparkle again with our bracelet. And again, the cami top. So obviously you can see that we have it just over the shoulder.
Yes.
You can wear it as a cowl neck, just to the front, like a typical cowl neck style top, or if you want off the shoulder.
Off the shoulder.
And then just these flared sequin pants. I mean, I don't even need to say anything. They just speak for themselves. Absolutely beautiful. We've got some really nice silver strap sandals then from Murphy's Shoes and Bantry. The heels high, but not too high. Really, really comfortable. You can dance the night away, and a lovely little silver clutch there as well. Just to tie nice with our shoes on our jewellery. So yeah, very, very nice.
Look.
Perfect for party season.
Thank you so much, Kerry.
Absolutely stunning. Definitely a me look.
Gorgeous. We're going to move on to our next look, and this is inspired by Anne Hathaway today.
days. So all the Valentino, Prada vibes, obviously those pops of colour, the pinks, the magentas.
She's been the queen of Valentino this year.
She's really up the ante
pink is
this year,
unbelievable.
and really has, hasn't she? Absolutely stunning. So here we have, again, another showstopper. We've added some really nice drop earrings to this look, just to finish off the overall look with a little bit of sparkle again. From the new autumn winter collection, isn't this just? I again don't even need to say something. I can just sit here. It literally speaks for itself. This is just stunning. So again, we've had our flared top look. Now we've gone for the dress. So showstopper, the sequins. This is available in a few different colours. But again, it's nice because it's flowy. You know, it's not like tightly restricted. It's perfect for that party season, Christmas party, night out with the girls.
And what size is this come in?
So this is available. So this is a free size.
Oh, free size. Okay.
Yeah, so it'll fit up to kind of size 16. But yeah, I mean, just.
So I suppose for some people who might have that, it does have a drop at the very back.
Yes.
But of course, you can wear it with your tights or you can wear it with your leggings as well.
That's exactly it. Even if you added maybe a thick belt, pop some leggings with it, pair of boots, absolutely beautiful. We've gone with a nice little beaded gold bracelet, again, to add in and finish off our look nicely. And then we've gone for this gorgeous little bag, a little bit of sparkle with just the gold and black detail, which also comes with a strap if you want to kind of go the crossbody bag as well. And it's nice and roomy, so you can fit all the essentials in there. I am such a boots person. This is, yeah, gorgeous pair of boots. You've got the suede, the heel, little buckle detail, and it just finishes off the dress nicely, doesn't it?
It's really gorgeous.
Very,
Norma,
very
thank
nice.
you so much. That is a fantastic look.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Olivia Palermo, you're looking pretty Olivia Palermo yourself
I'm kind of going
today.
for a bit of an Olivia vibe / a bit of a Cara Bradshaw vibe myself this morning. So here we're looking at, on Olivia, the sequin blazers, the sequin bomber jackets, anything sequin when it comes to a jacket.
Okay.
We're seeing it ever at the minute. Prada has some really nice pieces as well. So here on Ali, we're going to start off again with our jewellery. We've got some really like dainty, nice earrings and the blazer.
Beautiful.
Can we just take a moment? Gold sequins. I just like the way it falls really naturally. It just falls beautifully. It looks so much more expensive than it is. This is also available in black and in purple.
I think with that blazer though, you can wear it with a white cami, a pair of light blue jeans, and you're good to go. Sort of dress it down.
Not agree more, Byrne. Absolutely. Yeah. No, definitely. Lots of different ways you can dress it up, dress it down. Even if you wanted, you kind of wrap it over, pop a little belt with, and you've got a completely different outfit.
They are the sort of thing that it's, you know, these days you're seeing sequins on people in the morning, which is lovely.
Yes.
Like it's lovely.
Yes,
so it's great to be able to dress down a little bit.
Stunning. And then we've gone for a nice pair of ribbed leggings, available in a few different sizes. I like them because they're high waist, lots of stretch, and again, they're a wardrobe staple. Everyone needs at least one pair of biker leggings, in my opinion. Lovely, then little pair of suede black strap sandals. Again, the heels high, but not too high.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just finishes off that look perfectly. And then we've gone with just a lovely little clutch to finish off our look. And
with the bracelets, beautiful V-neck on that sequin top as well.
Isn't it? Yeah, really, really nice. Absolutely gorgeous. And just that suede clutch again, it really kind of finishes it off nicely. So,
gorgeous. Thank you so much, Ali.
Ali.
For our final look, we're going to look at something from Zendaya.
So firstly, I adore Zendaya.
This look is unbelievable.
Yeah, like Zendaya can do no wrong. We're focusing on the sequin skirt for this look here, and the midi, full length, that maxi style. So this is just stunning on Kerry. Again, absolute showstopper. As you can see, you've gone for a nice little simple, dainty pair of drop earrings. We've also then teamed up with a little necklace.
And are they from the same sort of collections?
Yes, it's their new autumn-winter collection. A really, really nice selection of pieces, fantastic price points. Blazer, we've just gone for that, again, the pops of colour, but mixing, matching colours. Really, really in at the minute. And I'm just loving satin. Absolutely loving satin. So pop of colour anyway. Obviously, we've got the really, really nice purple. Again, it's like kind of nice oversized, typical kind of blazer as well.
So it's those Joker sort of looks that I always put green and purple together because I think they look absolutely fantastic. And it's the Joker colours that have always kind of worked well together.
Yeah, it really, really works. So absolutely stunning blazer. And then we'll get Kerry to take off our little blazer and wait until you see.
Oh, wow.
Now, so this again, with our jumpsuit, top, trouser look, it looks like dress, but it's a cami and a skirt.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so if you're not feeling a dress for silly season, for party season, for Christmas, then you can obviously go with the cami top skirt option. So I really, really like that.
And the skirt is really cool at the front. It's got an Egyptian, it's like an Egyptian sort of a detail.
Yeah, so the detail, it's a little bit unusual. It's absolutely beautiful. Obviously, you've kind of got that slit detailing. It folds perfectly. Love that shade of green as well. Really, really nice. Also available in purple, champagne, and in black. just stunning. Then we've also got this gorgeous gold clutch. Again, it comes with a little chain in there if you want to go for a cross-body bag option. And then we've gone for 2 little bracelets. They come as a set. Again, nice little beaded detailing to tie nicely with our earrings and a necklace.
Lovely.
And then finally, we've gone for a nice little pair of gold strap sandals, just to finish off our look perfectly.
Neutral shoes.
And
They're lovely. Kerry, that's
I want
a gorgeous
everything.
look on you. It's
I
beautiful.
want one of everything.
You're going to be a sequined girl this Christmas,
Yes,
obviously, Lorna Duffy.
absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us. Cheers.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And after the break, Jennifer Rock has all you need to take care of your skin this winter. We'll talk to you very shortly.
To celebrate the launch of the Virgin Mobile Cinegame in Odeon cinemas across Ireland, we've teamed up with Virgin Mobile to give away a Samsung Galaxy S22 every day for the next 7 days. The Virgin Mobile Cinegame is a game played on the big screen by the cinema audience as part of the pre-show. Once you download the Cinegame app, you use your mobile phone as the controller to race your friends and the rest of the cinema audience and collect those all-important Virgin Mobile SIM cards for points. For your chance to win one of these amazing Samsung Galaxy S22s, just answer this question. What type of operating system is used by Samsung? A. iOS or B. Android? To enter, call 1550 999 200 or text PRIZE to 57199. Best of luck.
Welcome back. We're about to talk about the tried and tested products to keep your skin nice and nourished this winter.
You know, it's a varied stuff on Ireland AM, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's a bit
Sean's
of
just
a mix.
going with the flow. We're with the skin nerd Jennifer Rock. Some TLC, Jennifer, is what we're going to have.
Exactly. And Sean, you have beautiful skin, so
Oh,
welcome to our skin segment.
Thanks.
Here, isn't it?
I got the compliments this easy all the time.
We're going to get straight into it, and people hear about Environ all the time. So what do we have here?
So brand I worked with for 5 years. I've been talking about them for a decade. It's not going to go anywhere simply because they're results driven and they really do deliver. They truly, truly do. So this is an amazing gift set for them. It's quite affordable. It's €59. Within it, you get 3 of my favourite masks within the brand. So the first one that I could actually take an entire segment to talk about is comes in 15ml. It's the Revival mask. So Revival mask is a mask that you can put on. You've washed your face, you've cleansed, you're ready to rock and roll, as in before you put your serums on.
Yeah.
And then you'd put this on, and honestly, Muireann, John, the difference in your skin, because of the blends of acids in it, it triggers something in your skin called growth factors. So essentially, it's not just a mask that it brightens, it actually has a pro-aging benefit on the skin as well. Brilliant for pigment, brilliant for reducing pores, amazing for smoothness. You can eventually sleep in it, just speak to your local therapist to
And
make sure
that's, you just build it up.
Exactly.
Right.
And then
Totally
within
get
it, you
that.
also have an impurity mask, which has anti-pollutants in it. This time of the year, out and about, our skin just needs a little bit of detoxifying. And the other one is, as you might imagine, this time of the year, hydrating masks. So within one set, and they come with a brush, which I'm always a fan of.
What's this for?
So you don't over-apply it. We tend to put too much mask onto our face, and it's quite therapeutic.
Like that.
Outwards motions always, and it really
Outwards, sorry guys.
Just gonna have to correct the situation happening here on my
that way. Okay, outwards motions. Okay, so this is from Environ. People are looking for the gift sets at the minute and what they can do.
And you can gift it to anybody. They don't have to be using Environ, so it's a great introductory, or it's great for someone that isn't perhaps
And
using
it's dermatologist driven, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a plastic surgeon that founded it, so it's all tested, and it really has the data.
Now, let's move on to this brand that we hear about all of the time.
This is a brand I've fallen in love with massively this year, so Eucerin. It's dermatologically tested. Everything, again, you'll notice a theme, Sean. Everything I love has to have data and science and nerdiness. That's the name behind it. So affordable. So the first one I have there is the Eucerin Aquaphor Smoothing Skin Balm. I'm asked all of the time at this time of year, how do I help my skin? It's dry, it's tender, it's sore, it's nearly getting towards cracking and oozing. If it ever goes into that infection space, obviously it's a medic that you need to seek counsel from. But from an over-the-counter product, Eucerin's product here, it really does seal the skin. So it kind of like, it acts like a layer. Like you put clothes on to protect yourself. This just protects the skin, so it gets all the
So when the cracking starts here and around the nose,
really
just
sore.
a bit on there.
A little bit there, and it's quite an ointment sensation, so a little bit is all that you need. It perfectly suited for dry cuticles even. It literally suits anywhere in the body. So that's the face one, and they also have a body version, which I'll talk about now.
Okay.
But it slides on beautifully, and it's beautiful for babies as well. So when they're tender and sore, so all ages, all skins, really tender skin, driest skin, and it just occludes the skin beautifully.
And it's got that jelly sort of texture. It's
Yeah,
very
it's kind
soft.
of got like
it's
that
nice.
ointment sensation. And there's only 7 ingredients in it, so there really is nothing in it that will irritate the skin whatsoever. And then also also we have a body version, if you will. So this is the Urea Repair Plus. So urea is essentially a natural ingredient in our skin. So it's what we have in our skin naturally. It's called our natural moisturising factor. Essentially, it means it really hydrates the skin. So again, this is like your body version, if you will. It's got 10% of urea, which is quite a strong and potent amount in a skincare product. It's really gentle. Urea, it's naturally in your skin.
Oh.
So it's part of your skin's natural way to hydrate itself. It's a humectant, meaning that it draws moisture to your skin.
I thought it was something else entirely.
I thought we were going down the Chandler and Joey and Monica route of the jellyfish thing, to be honest.
Here. No, so this is a gentle lotion. It's suitable for everybody. It's really effective. It's quite nice and lightweight, but it's brilliant for
lash
like
that
heels, your knees that are dry and tender, anyone that's preparing for putting tan on, but it really is, it's ideal for anyone who's dry and irritated, sensitised, irritated skin.
Nice and soft too.
Lovely. Okay, we're going to move on.
Eczema, for the more kind of like medical versions, Eucerin is a go.
We're going to move on to a pill. You know, in American TV shows, they just pop the pill and swallow it down. That's not a thing. It's like they don't use the water. It's
Do you want to try and show us?
The size of this yolk. Go on, what's this?
So this is Aya's B complex. So they've lots of different products within their range, but the B complex I chose to speak about today for 2 reasons. B, first of all, within it, I have to double check. It's B1, 2, 3, 5, 6. So there's a plethora of B vitamins in there.
Gotcha.
B vitamins are known, exactly, all good things, but all known to give your body that energy and really help fight the immunity. But not only that, it's slow release. So cleverly, I took this at 6 a.m, but it's still working till 12 p.m. So you'll see the benefit throughout the day rather than just that quick fix in the morning. So you can feel like you've got a pep in your step all day long. This is what you need today, Muireann, I feel.
I'm having a bit of a moment right now. I'm like, give me that B complex.
But there's vitamin C in there as well. So not only will it help your energy, but it'll help with your immunity. And coming into this time of the year when you're out and about and you're socialising and busy and lists are to do, this is something to consider for you.
Okay, of course, it is that time of year when for people who don't have much melanin in their skin, they might want a little bit of fake tan. Vegan
tan. So again, this is quite a clever concept. So I actually have the tan on today, so maybe don't come too close because I've been rubbing creams all over myself. But you can put it on and immediately has a beautiful guide to it. It has aloe vera inside it, so it's really hydrating for the skin. But not only that, the whole concept behind this brand is that it's Leaping Bunny, because it's vegan, it's suitable for vegans, as you may imagine. But also it's great for anyone that's kind of driven by sustainability and wants ethics within their skincare, which unfortunately isn't still completely the norm. 95% of natural ingredients, and the colour lasts, like once you wash it off, it lasts for 7 days. So from a skin perspective, brilliant ingredients. From a componentry and packaging perspective and a brand, they're all about goodness. They launched 2021, but they're saving plastic with all the products that they're using.
I'm going to try to stop here. Patches O'Houlihan over here when she puts on fake tan. We've got about 20 seconds for your mascara.
Yes, well, that's all you need. So all you need for your full bloom mascara, $11.95. It's really affordable. But how you put it on is important. But there's a lot of pigment in this, extremely hydrating, a lot of natural ingredients, and what it does is actually hydrates the lashes. So if you're trying to give yourself a bit of TLC, you've minded your skin, you're looking after yourself inside out, and you just want to va-va-voom up those lashes, that brush is brilliant for wiggling in. Seán, I know you know this, but you put it on...
Did my lashes not have enough va-va-voom?
You just literally zigzag, horizontal, crisscross underneath, and then really drive them up. But this one, it really is easier to move, and yeah, as I said, it's got carnauba and sunflower, so it's really hydrating for the voluminous lash that you
Jennifer Rock, the Skinner, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you. Seán, you're going to come back again tomorrow?
Yeah, I am indeed, thank God. You haven't kicked me away. Coming up on tomorrow's show, country favourites, the Three Amigos, is dropping by for a chat ahead of the Christmas party season.
We're going to have loads in the kitchen. All the news will join you tomorrow from 7 a.m. Bye.